I love coming to the gym after midnight. At that time, there are very few or no visitors. I turn on the music and train quietly for about an hour and a half. The first 30 minutes are warm-up, and then about an hour of intense training. That evening, everything started as usual. I turned on my favorite workout playlist and started warming up. The beat was steady in my headphones. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a shadow between the barbell racks. I turned my head. Nothing there. I went back to my reps. A few seconds later, I felt a grip on my elbow. Sharp, tenacious. I jerk my arm away, step back, and take off one earbud. In front of me is a thin man. His face is drawn, his eyes darting around. He says something, but I don't understand the language. It's not English, not Spanish. He reaches for my arm again, trying to grab it. I step back, raise my palm, signaling him to stay away, to keep his distance. His shoulders are shaking. His speech is slurred. He takes a step forward, then another. I raise my voice, but he doesn't react and continues to approach, trying again to grab my arm. I raise my voice even louder and start shouting. I realize that this man is not right in the head and that something is wrong with him. He stops for a second, then reluctantly backs away, turns around, and walks away between the rows of exercise machines, looks back, and disappears around the corner. My heart is pounding in my chest. My ears are ringing. I realize that my workout is ruined. I turn off the music so I can hear everything that's going on around me better, do a few more stretching exercises, and look around. There's no one there. 20 minutes later, I give up. I'm in a terrible mood. I gather my things and head to the locker room. After changing, I check the hallway through a crack in the door. It's empty. The turnstile clicks, and I find myself in the lobby. There's no one behind the counter, neither an administrator nor a security guard. The door to the outside opens with difficulty. The night air is damp and cool. The asphalt glistens in the light of the sparse streetlights. The parking lot is almost empty. 2 cars at the far end, my sedan in the center row, a trash can by the chain link fence. Beyond the fence is a dark, vacant lot and a black strip of highway I feel for my car keys in my pocket. I take a step, then another. At that moment, I notice a silhouette by the distant streetlight. The figure stands motionless, facing my direction. It is about 150 feet away. I quicken my pace. The silhouette moves and starts walking toward me, also quickening its pace. I take out my car keys and press the unlock button. The car flashes its hazard lights. The man starts running. The distance between us shrinks. The car is just a few steps away. I pull the handle and the door opens. I fall into the seat, slam the door, and press the door lock button. A few seconds later, the man crashes into the passenger door and falls. Then he gets up and tries to open the door, jerking the handle wildly. He stops, walks around the car, approaches the driver's door, and starts pounding his fist on the glass, trying to break it. I see his face contorted with rage. I was frozen with fear. The next moment, I feel for the steering wheel and press my palm on the horn. The siren goes off and pierces the night silence. I try to insert the key into the ignition to start the car and drive away, but my hands won't obey me, and I drop the key. It falls to the ground, and I try to find it, but to no avail. The man continues to try to get into the car, punching the glass in the door, walking around the car several times, and trying all the handles. I continue to press the horn. My head is spinning from the sound and my own breathing. There is a buzzing in my temples. Suddenly, headlights appear at the edge of the parking lot. The car rolls out of the shadows and pulls into the parking lot. It is black and white. I don't immediately believe that it's the police. The siren wails and the flashing lights start blinking. The man instantly jumps away from the door, turns around, and runs. He takes the wrong direction and runs toward a chain link fence. In his haste, he trips, falls to his knee, gets up, and tries to climb over, but without success. 2 officers jump out of the patrol car, One stays at the door, and the other runs to the fence. The man is trapped. The policeman takes out a stun gun and orders him to lie down on the ground, but he does not obey. After several more unsuccessful attempts to persuade him to lie down on his own, the stun gun is fired and he falls to the ground in convulsions. The second policeman runs up, and together they pin the stranger to the ground. A little fuss, and he is already in handcuffs. I stay in the car, not moving. My mouth is dry, my heart is pounding. One of the policemen approaches the window and gestures for me to roll down the window. I nod, but it takes me a few seconds to find the button. The window slides down. His voice is calm and steady. He asks if everything is okay, if I need medical attention, and asks for my passport or driver's license. I nod and try to remember where my documents are, rummaging through my bag for a long time, finding my driver's license and handing it to the police officer. I hear him ask my name. I answer. The police officer looks at me. He turns to his partner and says a few short sentences. Then they take the man to the car and put him in the back seat. Several more police cars arrive. The paperwork takes time. I'm still in the car, and the police ask me to get out. I stand up, my legs buckling. I hold on to the car door and notice that there is a dent on the lower part of the door, probably from a punch or a kick. The police officer writes down my car number and parking pass number and asks me to tell him what happened inside the hall. I tell him how he was harassing me in the hall, then I tell him what happened here in the parking lot. He writes it down. His partner gets out of the patrol car and says that they checked the detainee's record. It turns out that he is under the supervision of a psychiatrist. He has a whole list of minor offenses: stalking, petty theft, even a knife attack 2 blocks from here a year ago. There were court hearings, but he was found not guilty by reason of insanity and released. The police officer also added that I did well to be able to orient myself in such a difficult situation and start honking my horn. It was the sound of the horn that caught their attention and made them decide to check what was happening in the parking lot. They asked me if I wanted to file a report. I agreed. It was only when I got home that I realized what a terrible evening I had had. But thank God, everything turned out okay. I arrived at the gym close to midnight. For me, this is the most comfortable time to train. There are few people, and no one disturbs me. I placed my card on the reader. It beeped quietly, and a green arrow lit up, allowing me to enter. The lights in the lobby were half dimmed. A young administrator was sitting at the reception desk. I said hello and walked into the corridor, past the changing room. There was almost no one in the gym itself. A cleaner was moving along the far row with a trolley and a spray bottle, wiping down the handles and seats of the exercise machines. The warm-up went quickly. I started the main exercises: bench press, deadlift, lunges, squats. The cleaner was always nearby. He took his time, lingering by the mirrors, sometimes looking in my direction, then lowering his eyes again and continuing with his work. At one point, I finished squatting, turned around, and saw the cleaner standing 2 steps away from me, staring intently. He flinched and immediately looked away. I felt somewhat uncomfortable in this situation. After finishing my workout, I went to the locker room, which was empty. I took off my sneakers, tied my hair back, grabbed a towel, and went to the spa area. Opening the glass door, I stepped inside, and a pleasant heat hit my face and enveloped my whole body. The sauna was clean, and in the corner, there was a wooden bucket with water and a ladle. I sat down on the middle shelf and put a towel under my feet. My pulse slowed down after the workout, and my breathing calmed down. A light condensation appeared on the glass, blurring the contours of the corridor. I heard a creak outside, and a moment later, a cart flashed by. The cleaner was passing by and stopped in front of the door. Through the fogged-up glass, his figure was clearly visible. He stood motionless, looking inside. His gaze was cold, and it sent a shiver down my spine. I thought maybe he couldn't see me, so I deliberately moved a few times and changed my position. But he didn't leave. Then he approached, leaned his forehead, then his cheek against the glass. and held his breath. His skin left an imprint on the glass, and for a moment, his contours stood out. Then his tongue touched the glass. I moved back to the corner and pressed my back against the wall. He stood there for a few seconds, then walked away and started fiddling with the door. Metal clanged. I stayed in the corner, breathing quietly and listening. The commotion behind the door stopped, and the cleaner left. The corridor was empty again. I caught my breath and slowly headed for the door to leave. But the door wouldn't budge. Through a strip of clear glass at the bottom, I could see 2 dumbbells. They were lying crosswise at the threshold, propping up the door. I pressed the handle again and tried to push the door, to no avail. The dumbbells were firmly propping up the door. I looked at the thermometer. The red line on the scale began to rise and quickly reached 200 degrees. The temperature control panel was located outside, with no access from the inside. The cleaner had done this, but why? I started to panic. My body froze, and my head was filled with a jumble of thoughts. The most important one was what to do, how to get out of this situation. At first, I called for help, but no one heard my cries. Then my gaze fell on the bench I had just been sitting on. I could tear off a board and try to break down the door. The upper part was attached to brackets, and the outer board seemed more pliable. I pulled, felt the wood give way, but my hands slipped. My skin had become slippery from prolonged high temperature and humidity. I grabbed the edge of the towel, wrapped it around my palm, and pulled again. The bench creaked, but the board remained in place. I tried to kick the bottom edge of the door with my heel. The blow was weak and useless. The glass clinked and froze. The air was getting heavier. A cough appeared in my throat. There was a bucket of water by the wall with a wooden ladle in it, usually used to pour water on the stones. I threw the towel into the water, wet it, and put it on my face. I breathed through the cloth, and it became a little easier to breathe. But my heart was still pounding wildly in my chest. I had been in the sauna longer than usual, and the temperature was too high. Time was against me. A new idea popped into my head, to try to break the door with a bucket or a ladle. They were wooden, but not too heavy. I wasn't sure it would work, but it was worth a try. I took the ladle in my right hand and hit the glass at the level of the lock. The door rang and vibrated, but remained intact. I glanced at the thermometer and saw that it was at its maximum. My skin was starting to burn, and I began to feel weak. I wet the towel with water again and sat down to rest for a moment. The temperature was lower downstairs. After a few minutes, I got up and began to hit the glass with the bucket rhythmically and sharply. I tapped on the hinge, the handle, and the corner. Sweat ran down my forehead and into my eyes, causing an unpleasant stinging sensation. I banged on the door for a while longer, and finally the door at the end of the corridor opened, and someone came in. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I could see a silhouette dart quickly to the glass door, throw down the dumbbells, clang metal, and open the door. I recognized the administrator I had seen when I entered the gym. My head was spinning, and I had heat stroke. The administrator called 911, and the police and ambulance arrived. I was given medical attention and later asked to recount what had happened. Then the officers went to look at the surveillance camera footage. I spent that night in the hospital. In the morning, I was released to go home. A day later, the officer called back and said that the janitor had been arrested. He confessed that he had done it, but could not explain why.